said wireless, one of the wireless things needed.
I'm good. How's it going? Hot day?
It's connected.
So you got Tuesday and this is the 7th. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this, what was intended to be a budget session tonight, and it will be, but we're starting a half an hour ahead. We've got some business to take care of relative to the mega site and the issues over there, and Amy's going to give a detail. I will remind you always that we are being streamed live on YouTube and Facebook, so not only you folks that are here in person, but those that might be watching this from another area, another source. Just say, from the county's perspective, we've taken care of our mega site business as we've gone along, especially back in December. Toyota, as y'all know, probably has been grading over there. They're ready to start construction. And we told them several months ago that they could not start construction until they actually owned that property. And the property has not officially been transferred to them. They're ready to start construction on their first building next week, and they have to acquire the property. So what we're about here is to, for the county's part, and been waiting on this master agreement that Toyota had to have. That included the county, the North Carolina Railroad, Department of Commerce, and the Megasite Foundation, City of Greensboro, the whole litany of folks that are involved in that process. So that's what this is about, that will effectively allow the property to be transferred to the ownership of Toyota and allow them to become a tax-paying business in Randolph County. So that's what we're about here right now, and Amy is going to make the presentation.
Okay, thanks. The master agreement that Toyota has presented, it's basically because of the number of parties involved in this project. You know, you've got the county, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Transportation, the City of Greensboro, the Greensboro Randolph Megasite Foundation, the North Carolina Railroad. Because of the number of people that have various commitments, I think Toyota just wanted everything in one place where it was easy for them to see. But this master agreement doesn't really obligate the county to do much of anything that we have not already agreed to do. If you look at the first part of the agreement has a lot of the recitals, and it has the definitions, and it outlines the company's planned commitments for phase one, which is the $1 billion investment, 1,750 jobs. It outlines the possible phase two commitments if the company does elect within 3 years of our December 6, 2021 meeting to proceed with phase two. Those commitments would increase to a $3 billion investment and 3,875 jobs. And then it begins outlining the various commitments of all the other parties. The commitments relative to Randolph County, section 4.2 talks about the economic development incentives that the county approved and memorialized in an economic development agreement. Now, that agreement was considered by this board and approved after the public hearing on December 6th. So that's already been approved, and if you notice in that section, it specifically states that that agreement controls. If there's any conflict between that agreement and the master agreement, that agreement controls with regard to the county incentives. Section 4.3 similarly deals with the property conveyance provisions. The property rider document that outlined the conveyance terms, conditions, and obligations was also considered and approved by this board after the public hearing on December 6th. So that also has already been approved, and note that that document exclusively controls with regards to the conveyance of the property. So throughout the document, there are some other references to the county, but they are mainly references that the county will cooperate with the other parties in the accomplishment of the project. They do not add additional obligations to the county until you get to section 5.7. And if you'll, section 5.7 deals with the zoning of the property. Paragraph A is simply a representation by the county that the property is already properly zoned for the accomplishment of this project. And section B is a representation that once we receive the documents that we need, the density allocations will be made. And that both of those things are done deals. Paragraph C, the first little part of that, little I, does not pertain to the county at all. That pertains to the city of Greensboro. But the second part does pertain to the county. Basically, the company feels that because they are such a change to the area, the area has been mostly agricultural, some residential, and this is going to be a major industrial change, that the 1 mile area around this project is of particular concern to make sure that whatever the uses are within that 1 mile area are compatible with what is going on the mega site. Now, the company has asked, and this agreement would have us agree, that we would initiate a land planning study by the end of December to determine what changes might need to be made to the growth management plan, not a rezoning of anyone's property, just revisiting our growth management plan to reflect the nature of the project and to identify and encourage compatible uses while discouraging incompatible ones. This also allows that the company could designate a representative to work with the county, and that the county would notify the company of any proposed changes to development regulations or policies, rezonings, requests for special intensity allocations, and the like, applicable to properties in that enhanced area, and will give the company the opportunity to provide comments and suggestions to the county as to the compatibility of those proposals. Now, it is important to note that decisions would lie with the planning board and this board. This does not give the company the right to dictate any zoning decisions or to dictate any changes to our growth management plan. And I have been assured by both County Manager Hal Johnson and the Planning Director that these are best practice things that we would do anyway, absent this agreement. There's another place where we make a warranty that when we remove the cell tower from the cell tower property, we will do so in compliance with the environmental permits applicable to the mega site. That has been our intention all along. It states that we will provide building inspections free of charge. We do not charge for building inspections. We charge for permits, and we already agreed in our economic incentive agreement that the company would pay for building permits and could apply for reimbursement of them. So I would also like to point out that in 2 places in this document, it states very clearly that there is no joint liability, that the county is responsible for the county's obligations and no other party's obligations, despite the fact that there are multiple parties to the agreement. So I can take any questions that you might have, or...
Can you talk a little bit about the water, City of Greensboro, and the...
In section 5.7, in that first little I, section 5.7, paragraph C, little I, the City of Greensboro is agreeing, and it is subject to approval by their city council, that they will only extend water and sewer services within that 1 mile enhanced area to industrial use properties.
But that would not prohibit someone else from Town of Liberty or Ramsey or anybody else?
No,
Yeah.
no,
No prohibition.
they're not parties to this agreement, so
Right.
no.
Okay.
Any other questions? We had a little, on my,
I know it was a fast turnaround time,
Well,
and
and
I
we've been-
apologize for that. I shared it with the county manager as soon as I had an agreement that was in a form to share.
I think if you noticed, Amy's email to Hal was at 10:21 last Friday night. And
Yeah, I worked
That's
all
when
day
she
and
got
half the night
her
Friday.
we've been waiting on Commerce quite a bit, Department of Commerce.
And we are still waiting a little bit. You will notice, I want you to notice in your resolution that what I am asking you to do in section 1 of the resolution is that I'm asking you to authorize the county to enter into a master agreement in substantially the same form as that's being presented, with the understanding that minor changes may be made as long as such changes do not materially and adversely affect the county. They are still expecting a few changes from Commerce. If those changes affect us in any negative way, they shouldn't affect us at all. But there are some things in here that pertain to everyone, like the confidential information section and things like that. I expect that if Commerce does make a change, it's going to be a change that benefits the county rather than one that would hurt us. But if they made a change that negatively affected us in any way, we would have to bring it back before this board. But I am asking you to approve the execution of a document substantially in this form, understanding that there may be minor changes that do not adversely affect the county. So I want to point that out.
Okay, so I'm sorry to ask you this,
No, it's okay.
but but would you go back over the part about the 1 mile area around the site?
Okay,
Tell her what the first ask was.
I'll tell you. Yeah, let me tell you what the first ask was, and then I will tell you
Okay.
how we arrived at where we arrived. Initially, they asked us to
And Guilford County.
Yeah, and Guilford County, us and Guilford County, to rezone the area 1 mile around it to industrial use. Pretty much the same use as the mega site. They wanted us to rezone it, and we said we were absolutely not going to rezone people's property against their will. So what they've asked us to do now is just to look at our growth management plan with regards to the area around the mega site, and if we deem it necessary to make changes to that growth management plan so that in the future we are encouraging uses compatible with the site and discouraging uses incompatible. But how you ultimately modify your growth management plan, again, is up to the planning board and this board, not Toyota. So-
Well, and I mean, I'm processing that because when I was in South Carolina the other week, one of the things they talked about is those other suppliers that come in, ancillary businesses. They don't want to be close, so they don't want to be within a mile they didn't want to be within a mile of BMW. They wanted to be a little farther away than that because they're competing for jobs. So I'm just thinking, I'm just thinking about why they would ask that.
I think they are most concerned about high-density residential going in that 1 mile
Oh, okay.
district.
Okay.
I think they
And
are
that makes
most
sense.
concerned about
makes
that.
sense. Okay,
Yeah, and I think some of that stems
gotcha.
And-
a reaction from other locations around the
Gotcha,
U.S.
gotcha.
And a lot of that is already prohibited by what's in place, but I think that is what their biggest
Gotcha.
concern is.
And I
so.
wasn't thinking residential.
They don't want complaints from neighbors.
Right.
That's what it amounts to.
Right,
Gotcha.
that's correct.
We do have, Crystal Geddes called me Friday morning. There is a business, a supplier to Toyota that is, I think, going to be asking for rezoning within that, I think it's within that area. It's several jobs and several $1 million.
All right, thank you.
Other questions or comments? All right. What's the pleasure of the board?
If there's no more discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the County of Randolph to enter into this master agreement for the Toyota Economic Development Project.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the resolution as it's currently presented. Further discussion or questions on the motion? Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Amy.
Recess or adjourn? We want recess or adjourn?
To adjourn, please.
Do we need to adjourn?
Move to
Yes,
adjourn.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. At 6 o'clock, we will open the meeting that I think most of you are here to participate in tonight.
Yeah, or what, like, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, she called.
Editor to Economic, and we were, when I was, they did a lot of work. When I, the company sold out, and I left about 6 months after that, back in like mid-90s. And they've been a couple different things over the years, but they're custom injection molded. It look like, I looked at the website, it looks like they do dashboards.
She told me that she talked to you, but she...
I'm familiar with what they're and they're considered that. It's right across the way. Get out of there.
This is the company that's the thing that's talking about coming.
Say, Mayor, excuse my laziness.
Well, tell me something.
How you doing? Good to see you. What's going on?
Where?
What's up, man? Looking good, yeah. Well, get out there and see those things.
Okay. I saw it through my email.
Have I got everything signed?
It's good to see you.
I mean, everything tonight.
Yes, it will. It'll probably be, let's see when you're presenting. Yeah, you'll probably. It's good to be here. Yes, I am. Y'all ready for the meeting?
Ben, his wife's on those.
Do stuff.
Hey, Mayor, how are you? Good to see you. Weird.
Hey, Gary.
Let's see.
Well,
Everything is in.
You'll need to give it to Will. Uh-huh.
be some person. This one doesn't, neither do I.
Oh, Richard. How you doing, buddy? Excuse my laziness. Farewell. Yeah. Y'all?
But any
Keep your crowd in control.
be attacked. So I tell everybody, Dan,
Give it to Will in case. He should have it on his.
yeah, I will. I should really need to get there.
We go back, Richard. We go back too far.
Good luck with that.
It's, yeah, no, it's probably not gonna be any.
Let's see where you guys are.
That would be doubtful. I mean, if you want a 710,
Oh, hey.
be certain,
So
but
I just tell you.
yeah, but yeah,
All right.
Paula is right after Parks Guild. He's at 7. Okay.
Yeah, what's gonna happen to gas prices? What's the crystal ball?
I'll answer if you can answer before you range.
Let me think. There you go, Bill. Hey man, what's up? How you doing? Pretty good? You had a fun summer? Yes, you will.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Hello. How are you?
He's gotta get on the.
See you.
You up? All right, you see, how's it going?
Is that the one that wants to run the road all the way through to Trinity Road?
But it's
Across the railroad back there?
I mean,
How you doing, buddy? Steve. How are you?
practical engineering.
Well,
The call's coming from DOT. Well, like the railroad.
Well, maybe the weather will cooperate. It'll be real hot and dry. Oh, no. You just tell me doing physical stuff with them. I'm just carrying stuff up and hauling stuff off and setting stuff down.
I rode my bicycle.
Yeah, I'm going to Bob Dealer's
Across
place.
the railroad track over at Trinity to play ball. On my bicycle.
shake your hand. I'm not afraid of it. They're not. They're not. Things going well? I hope. Good. We want it to go good. Trying to work on the car. It's like, look, I'm doing a lot of stuff at the house. I'm loading my truck up. Oh, do you? Oh, across from Humble? Right there across from the other building.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we will call to order this special session of the Randolph County Board of Commissioners as we deal with the adoption process of our 22-23 budget for Randolph County. We have presentations tonight from our outside agencies, as we do every year. We have a couple presentations from fire departments. We're required to hold a public hearing on funding for our Economic Development Corporation, which we'll do that tonight. And we'll have a public hearing for any citizen who's here tonight to speak just to the budget in general. So, and we are, we'll remind you, we are live streamed on Facebook and YouTube for all of our proceedings tonight, as we are for all of our meetings. And we are asking you, as best you can, to limit your presentations to 10 minutes. We've got a lot of presentations to go through tonight, and out of respect, courtesy to everyone, we'll ask you to do that. That is listed on our agenda for tonight, and we will follow that agenda as it is presented. So welcome again to our meeting tonight, and we will get started with the City of Ashboro and Mayor David Smith, City Manager John Ogburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate the time, and commissioners. I'm David Smith, Mayor of Ashburn. I have with me tonight John Ogburn, the city manager. I think all of you have been out to McCrary Ballpark since we started our project, and you've all seen the plan. You have on your monitor in front of you the most recent rendering of the plan. As you all know, sports has become a real economic engine, and Ashboro is known for its baseball. This historic park that was recently given to the city was in great need of an update. And we have finished phase 1. We're ready to kick off phase 2 as soon as this baseball season is over in August. Phase 2 is phase 1 was the turf that you see on your monitor, and they are actually playing out there right now this week. Started last week. That the rain held us up a little bit on that, but we have a request into you for some participation in this project to the tune of $1.5 million for the phase 2. And as soon as baseball is over, we will start phase 2, and that involves a new grandstand and all of the accessory structures. You have an artist concept of the common, the plaza, the entrance plaza, the grandstand, the ticket booth there, and new concessions, new bathrooms. We're still using the original bathrooms from 1948. Even though the city has done a lot over the years to maintain the property, it's in desperate need of a total restoration, and we're playing over 250 games a year out there. Currently, we have a lot of interest from college teams that want to come here to play, especially with our new turf, new surface, and all these amenities. So we do consider this a huge economic engine for our area, and we all benefit when the hotels and restaurants are full of visitors. So hope you'll consider our request for $1.5 million over a couple of years. Thank you.
Right.
Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, I think most of us got a
You've
personal
all been
tour
out there. You've
Yes.
all heard our presentation and seen the plan.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. I think before we go further, I need to clarify a couple of things. This is the county budget, and the county budget always deals with public tax funds, property tax funds, sales tax dollars, other general sources of revenue that we have. We also are dealing with ARPA, American Recovery Plan Act funds that the county has received, about $28 million. A lot of that's going to be targeted toward infrastructure, water, sewer projects, but some of these could possibly be funded with ARPA money. And we also have our strategic planning money that is generated through the annual revenue that we receive from waste management for operation of our landfill here in the county. And some of these projects could wind up being funded through that process. So focus on what you're asking us for, and we'll try to fit it where we can make the best use of it and make everything come out the way we want it to at the end. So just want to make that comment before we go any further. It's not just about the 22-23 budget, but also these other sources of funds. So next is the Randolph County Senior Adults. Mark?
As a quick side note, my wife Beth and I are fortunate enough to be hosting a zookeeper this summer, and what a gorgeous turf that is. I think a year from now, we're all going to be very excited about McCrary Park. So Did I say that right? Chairman Fry, County Commissioners, and senior county staff, as always, it's a pleasure to be in front of you this evening for a brief update and to illustrate Randolph Senior Adults budget request for the new fiscal year. First slide there that you have in your packet is just a reminder of our mission and some of the ways we go about doing that, but in the interest of time, we'll move right into the meat of this. For the third year in a row, we are requesting flat funding. We are requesting a support from the county of $302,585. You can see there a historical perspective of how you have supported the senior adult population of Randolph County. I would mention that Randolph County is the third highest resource to Randolph senior adults. Department of Transportation for RCATS is the leading provider of resources. The Home and Community Care Block Grant, which last month and the month before you approved as a pass-through that comes from state and federal Older Americans Act funds, and then right behind that would be Randolph County government. So we're always appreciative of that. But we are asking for flat support, the same amount as the last 2 years. We do have 3 stimulus programs that we're still participating in. These 3 make up a total of 11 stimulus programs that we have participated in since the beginning of the pandemic. The first one there, the Home Delivered Consolidated Appropriation, will end in this September. That is a program for supplemental food. It allows us to provide grocery boxes to all of our seniors. These would be non-perishable items that they can use to supplement their meals, and that we provide them 2 grocery boxes per month. CARES Act for Transportation, we've actually received 3 separate phases of that for RCATS, and that will end late June of next year. And then we too are participating in ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. Those funds were for additional meals. One of the challenges as we've gone through the pandemic is that we see that more and more seniors have reached out and requested a nutritious meal. The ARPA program is allowing us to continue to grow the number of clients that we serve. I looked at numbers today, and on an average day, Monday through Friday, we're providing 442 meals per day to seniors in Randolph County. Give you some quick updates about Randolph senior adults. As you know, we were closed for 15 and a half months due to the pandemic, and we reopened all 5 of our centers on July 1st of last year. Hard to believe we're coming up on a full year since we were allowed to reopen. RCATS transportation, which in our community is the closest thing we have to public transportation. RCATS did not miss a single day of service during the pandemic. They ran every single day, Monday through Friday during the pandemic. We're at full speed in terms of going not only our local trips, but going to designated locations outside of the county every day of the week. Certain days we go to Durham and Chapel Hill, to UNC Hospital, Duke Hospital, and the VA in Durham. Another day we go to High Point Regional and Moses Cone. A third day we go to Baptist Hospital, and then a 4th day we go to the VA in Salisbury. A lot of folks don't realize that we run out-of-county trips through RCATS. Just to give you an example, pre-COVID, RCATS averaged about 315 trips every day. We're right now running about 180 trips, so we're building back. During the pandemic, we got as low as about 90 trips per day from people simply saying, I'm not comfortable going out, as they were pre-COVID. So we're building back steadily with our transportation. Information and options counseling, some of you may or may not be familiar with that, but that's where we provide senior health insurance information and caregiver support. I'm very happy to share with you that once again, in the state of North Carolina, we provided service to the 2nd most number of clients in the state of North Carolina last year, and we were the 12th highest in the state in terms of dollars saved. If you boil that down to our 12-county Piedmont Triad region, or the COG as you're familiar with, We finished number one in total in number of clients served and number one in dollars saved. And I believe we're about 5 years into holding that distinction of number one in both categories. We've restarted activities, and they're going really, really well. Education, fitness, music, arts and crafts. And the new hottest thing for us are day trips. And our seniors are going here, there, and everywhere and having a great time with that. We're utilizing some RCATS vehicles to take them. And as long as there's no expense as long as we don't have to use a motor coach, such as a Holiday Tours bus, then we don't charge them for transportation. They would only pay if there's an entrance fee to the location we're going. I'm expecting that by the end of this month, we will be somewhere in the 90,000s in terms of meals for this fiscal year. We have, for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been in the 90 to 100,000 meals per year, and I'm expecting we will be right in that range again for this fiscal year that's ending. I want to just briefly, I think most of you are familiar with our challenges on Meals on Wheels. When we reopened on July 1st of last year, we had sufficient volunteers to go back to the daily hot meals out of all of our locations, and we did that until the Omicron variant hit. The numbers skyrocketed, and we had a number of volunteers who backed away and said, I'm no longer comfortable delivering meals, either out of concern over taking the virus to a client or getting the virus from a client. So at that time, we had to move back to the frozen meal where we provide 10 frozen meals every 2 weeks instead of a daily hot meal. Again, still the same nutritious meal, is just delivered frozen instead of hot. I'm happy to say that as of June 1 in Archdale, we had a sufficient number of volunteers to go back to the daily hot meals. But in Asheboro, Liberty, and Randleman, we're still on the frozen meal route. There's such a great turnout tonight. If you would allow me at the end of the meeting to go around and solicit volunteers, I could probably fill enough with the crowd here tonight to be able to return us all. But that's kind of where we are today. Number one priority for every Randolph Senior Adults employee is finding volunteers to get us back to a daily hot meal. With the frozen meals, they're still getting the nutritious meal. What they're missing is that daily social connection and human interaction, which is just as important as a nutritious meal. And so that's our goal, is to do that just as soon as we have a sufficient number of volunteers to do that. I want to be timely, and I will take any questions that you have.
I think you're involved in the process of studying our transportation issues here in the county with PART and RCATS.
That's correct.
Trying to improve transportation. I think the city of Asheboro is involved in that also.
That's correct.
I think there'll be some good things to come out of that.
There's really three components right now. One is looking at a potential loop for the city of Asheboro. There are routes that we could potentially run between the hotels on 64 back and forth to the zoo. Be great if somebody checked into the Hampton Inn and said, would you like a shuttle ride there and back at no cost? Also, as a feature of that, is potentially bringing people downtown in the evenings for dining. And then the third part of that, which Hal and I spoke about a few years back, is with the mega site going live, is a Toyota loop. And at some point in time, the ability to take workers at shift change and pick them back up and bring them to specific designations.
There'll probably be bus routes specifically for the mega site.
Our transportation director was at a transportation conference about 30 days ago and met a contact from Toyota, and so we've already started building that bridge a little bit. So, yes, sir.
Good. Any questions?
You talked about trips that, to the different hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
Is this just like to the hospitals? Is this for doctor visits, or so people plan their schedules?
They
around
plan their
that,
appointment around the day we go to that specific city. So if we're going to Baptist on Wednesday, we simply say, make your appointment on Wednesdays. We'll take you there, wait for your appointment, and then bring you home. So that's how it works. A lot of folks aren't familiar that we do go out of county, but we do.
After my son had his leg amputated, they took him to High Point in his wheelchair.
About 80% of our fleet is lift equipped. So folks with walkers, wheelchairs, scooters, we can accommodate. The other 20% is non-lift equipped, but the trade-off with a lift is you give up 4 seats on your vehicle. So we can put 12 on a non-lift, but we can only put 8 on a lift-equipped vehicle.
All right. Other comments? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you all.
Okay, next is Lydia's Place. Alexis, Reverend Coleman, welcome.
Good evening. Chairman Fry, Commissioners, County Manager, thank you for the invitation tonight. I am Reverend Alexis Coleman, and I am the Executive Director of Lydia's Place. It has become a project that is near and dear to my heart, as to all the folks who are here. I want to start by giving you a brief history of Lydia's Place, how it came into being. Randolph County currently has a shelter for men and a shelter for victims of domestic violence and sexual abuse. But the need for a shelter for women and families has been, sorry, which button is it? There it is. So the need for a shelter for women and families has been growing in Randolph County. Women and families have been willing, have had to be willing to seek shelter in other counties, to double up with friends or family, to stay in low-cost hotels when possible, or sleep in their cars or outdoors. But because unhoused populations are also growing in other counties, there are fewer available beds for Randolph County residents. In February of 2020, a community meeting was held to discuss the possibility of starting a shelter for women and families. It needed to have community support, and over 50 people attended that meeting. In March of 2020, we know what happened when COVID became a reality in North Carolina. However, the need for a shelter continued to take shape. And so in July of 2020, I moved to Asheboro to serve as the executive director. In October of 2020, we formed an executive committee to begin the process of creating a 501c3 nonprofit under which the shelter will operate. We did a needs assessment and completed that in late 2020. The bylaws were filed with the state of North Carolina, and the IRS confirmed our nonprofit status in January of this year. So that executive committee now serves as the nonprofit's first board of directors. Our mission is to disrupt the cycle of homelessness for women and families and promote sustained independence for those seeking secure housing. We have a building at 114 Francis Street. Those of you may know that that was the former Calvary United Methodist Church. We have 2 buildings, a fellowship hall and the main building, and we're going to do renovations in 3 phases. Phase 1 is the fellowship hall. We started demo day today. We will create 3 rooms to shelter 3 families. We'll have up to 12 folks there. We'll add a common bathroom for those guests to share. We'll add a laundry facility and an additional shower. We'll upgrade the common area, upgrade the kitchen electrical to support additional kitchen upgrades when needed. And we are going to finish that work at the end of this year. We hope to be open by September 1st. The cost for that is going to be about $390,000, which was our original $240,000 that we had planned, plus the $150,000 in contingency. That is a requirement for to build firewalls in that space. The main building, we're going to start with the education wing over there, and we will take the Sunday school rooms, create 7 rooms to shelter 32 additional guests. We'll add bathrooms, a laundry facility, create another small common area, make our basement space usable for meetings, storage, and offices, and we have to add a sprinkler system throughout that building. And we want to finish that in the fall of 2023. Our third phase is also in the main building, and it is to go into the sanctuary to create a space for 10 additional beds, to add bathrooms, to upgrade some existing office space there, and we'd like to finish that in the summer of 2024. The shelter is going to operate 24/7 for guests who have completed the intake process. So families will come to us, they will go through an interview process, we will know who they are and what their needs are. They will also complete an assessment with a case manager. Children will not be allowed to be in the shelter alone, but the parents can sign babysitting agreements with other adults in the shelter. We will keep that paperwork on file, but we will not broker those agreements. Curfew will be at 9 o'clock and lights out will be 11. The first priority of the board, of myself, of the staff and volunteers will always be the safety of guests, particularly the children. So use of physical violence, weapons, alcohol, or drugs on the premises will be reason for ejection from the shelter. We will have trained staff on duty 24/7. Families will stay together in the shelter. Women without children will share bedroom spaces, and all living spaces will have secured entrances for the protection of guests. The shelter will operate using a housing-first approach to support its guests. Guests of the shelter will have the option to connect with both a housing case manager and a social services case manager in order to achieve the stability they need to acquire and sustain a permanent housing solution. The social services case manager will be on the staff of Lydia's Place. The housing case manager will be provided through a community action network that's located over in Harnett County. That's part of the North Carolina Coalition to End Homelessness, which administers HUD funding. And that community action network is funded by them. They are currently on the ground here in Randolph County 2 to 3 days a week. They are working with Angie Polito, our community navigator, and they will continue to do that, and they will have office space at Lydia's Place. So they will be available to our guests as well. Guests will be expected to share the housekeeping chores of the shelter and to keep personal spaces tidy. The shelter manager will maintain a laundry schedule, and all guests will have adequate access to laundry facilities. The programming at Lydia's Place will be a bit different because every person comes with a different story, a different background, and that case management assessment will be how we determine how to best assist Lydia's Place guests. Asheboro and Randolph County have many organizations which already provide the resources needed to help guests. So instead of duplicating those programs, we are going to partner with those organizations. So we've already met with these organizations to discuss how we can collaborate. RCC will provide financial literacy, job skills and training, and ESL, and we actually already have ESL meeting on that campus 4 nights a week right now. The Randolph Partnership for Children will do what they do best with parenting skills and pre-K services. The Mercy Clinic will help with medical and dental care. Faith Health at Randolph Health will help with low-cost prescriptions. DSS, Asheboro City Schools, and Randolph County Schools will provide family and children's services. Sand Hills will help with mental health care. Keaton's Place will be our resource for addiction. Our Daily Bread will provide weekday lunches to those who are in the shelter. CUOC and Ridgeware will help with clothing needs and with household items when folks exit the shelter to their housing. And RCATS will provide those transportation needs. We also want to work with Randolph County Public Health, with NA and AA. We do want to have on-site meeting groups for those organizations. We want to work with NC Works. We have a call-in now with Pam Hill. And we are working with churches and other organizations to help provide programming, volunteer resources, to provide meals, and to also provide financial support. We hope the YMCA will help provide some program scholarships for the children, and we want to work with United Way. We have been helped so much by folks in this community. Family Crisis has just been so open with their handbook and how they run their shelter. CUOC has helped us particularly connect to the North Carolina Coalition to End Homelessness, who you see there. And then Crisis Ministry of Davidson County provided a lot of early support for us, as did the Salvation Army of Shelter of Wake County. This is our list of board members. And with that, I think David Smith would like to come forward and make a statement.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you for the time. As we all know, affordable housing is at a great shortage in Randolph County and nationwide, and rents are going up every day, and more and more people are finding it impossible to find affordable housing, a decent place to live and rent, and more are becoming homeless in our community especially. Most of those will migrate to the municipalities, whether it's Asheboro, Randleman, wherever, because that's where the services are. So we, the City of Asheboro, the administration and the council of the City of Asheboro support this and do expect to make a donation to their capital campaign, and we are working with them to make this a reality, and we hope that you will too.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions?
What are your other funding sources?
So we have quite a few private donors right now. We also have 3 big asks out there. We are expecting to hear from one next week. We'll hear from one later in the summer and one later in the fall. So 2 of those will be capital donations. The other one will be operating funds. And then a year from when we open, we will be able to go to the North Carolina Coalition to End Homelessness and give them our numbers and what our success rates are, and then we'll be able to ask them for operating funds as well.
Along that line, I think I saw you would plan to use, if this money's granted, for salaries?
No, sir. We submitted a new request to ask for capital rather than salaries. So we're asking for $100,000 for that big middle piece to do those 7 rooms, because we know that money would come from your strategic planning money, and we want to ask to use that money rather than taxpayer dollars. We want to come back to you sometime, show you that we are being successful in rehousing folks and getting them stable, and then we'll make another ask at that time.
And you will have male and female at nights?
We will have families. So there won't be any single men in the shelter. They will all be part of an intact family. The reason we did that was because there used to be a practice, particularly in Charlotte, where I am from, where if a mom came to a shelter with an adolescent boy, the boy had to go to a group home, and the mother stayed in the shelter. That proved to be a disastrous thing for those boys and for those families. So just like in the Institute for the Family presentation that was next week, it is so that was last week, it is so important to keep families together, to work with them as a family unit, to try to catch them before they get to DSS, and that's what we want to do.
But I guess I'm speaking more to adult males.
So if a father comes with a wife and children, or if a father comes as the head of household, he will be in the shelter. We will, as soon as we can open that next space, we will keep this first phase just for men who may be in the shelter so that we can keep folks separate. Everyone will be trained. We will be practicing the safe sanctuary policies of the United Methodist Church to make sure that all the little girls and all the women are safe from any men who are there.
So along those lines, what former experience do you have?
So I come with 20 years of corporate experience to start with. I was originally in IT. So the last 10 years in the corporate world, I did project management. So I took ideas, visions that people had, and took those down to the very last detail, scoped out projects, made assignments, did all the project management, the testing, the training, the implementation, and the evaluation. So I come with that. Part of the training, the special training that I have, is that I am a certified trainer in Bridges Out of Poverty, which helps communities look at the solutions to begin to disrupt that cycle of poverty, particularly generational poverty. So I'm a trained trainer in Bridges Out of Poverty and also a trained facilitator in Getting Ahead, which is a program that helps folks who are living in poverty learn the skills that they need to get out of poverty. And the third thing that I bring is that just from my previous experience in working with families who are trying to break the cycle of poverty, I learned how to do community collaborations really well. And so knowing that one person, one organization, one church cannot help a family break that cycle of poverty. It takes a whole community, and being able to build those relationships, to have everybody working together to move that family forward into stability.
So where did the Reverend come from?
So I am an ordained United Methodist pastor. I was ordained in a second career in 2013. So I have served churches. This is my heart, my personal mission statement is to help families break the cycle of poverty for themselves and their children.
Thank you.
So let me ask you, you talked about, I think I saw on the list, I mean, that was, really a very complete list of departments, agencies, groups that, that it appears that you and the board have been very thorough in that. What are you hearing from the schools about what they're seeing?
So I'm part of the Randolph Housing Coalition, which meets on the second Friday of each month. And both of the dropout prevention specialists from the school systems come to that meeting. They are so excited about this. In 2018, 2019, they reported together over 300 homeless children in the school system. And so they are so excited. The dropout prevention specialist for Randolph County Schools has brought out 4 different groups of social workers to the shelter to look at our program, to tour the building, to give me feedback about what we can improve, what they see. And they're just so excited because they feel like this will be a step forward towards stability for those families so that they can get those kids to graduation and maybe even get them into community college or go even to college. So
I will admit that figure blows me away.
we
When I
were
asked
shocked.
the question, I was thinking 20, 30, that blows me away.
Yeah.
Other questions? Thank you, Liddy.
Thank you so much.
Thank all of you that came to support this request tonight. OE Enterprises, I think this used to be Randolph Vocational. Donna? Good evening.
Good evening, Chair Fry and County Commissioners. We're so glad to be able to be here tonight. My name is Donna Musson, and I have decades of experience with OE Enterprises. And in January of 2020, we began our services in the historic RVI, which had been around again for
Donna,
about...
let's wait a couple minutes, let these, I don't want them to interrupt you, so let's take a couple
okay.
minutes while they leave.
Mark, now's your chance.
I'm going to call my group up, too. Okay. So as you can see, we create opportunities for personal and professional growth for persons with disabilities and other barriers to employment. And again, we started in what used to be RVI in 2020 of January, and we want to thank you so much for including you in our budget, and our programming works to support this population in Randolph County because of you all. The money we get from Randolph, although we operate in several counties, does go back into our Randolph County services for citizens of Randolph County. Okay. Our mission is creating opportunities for personal and professional growth, as I said, for people with disabilities and other barriers. And we'd like to be a thriving business that promotes achievement, self-reliance, life choices, and respect. And although that is through our community partners, as well as the work we do. And there's some examples of some of our folks hard at work. We started in the 70s by parents in Orange County. We became a private nonprofit in 1987 and became Orange Enterprises. We changed our name to OE Enterprises when we began services in Alamance County. And so that's where that name came on, because we want to be inclusive of all of our counties. Company-wide, we serve, depending on COVID or not, between 450, 715 clients yearly, and most of those are served in the community. But between our three facilities, we serve about 125 clients, with Randolph County being our smallest facility, with about 20 clients in there. We also serve individuals in the community in Randolph County through VR and other supports in community jobs. We help people obtain and keep their jobs. About half of the people we serve are from communities of color, and about 98% of the people we serve meet the federal poverty income guidelines. So employment, like all of us, for them, this population is very important. We believe with good support and a good job match that anybody can be successful in the jobs they want to do. And our business is to provide that support. In Randolph County, we have contracts with many of our business partners. It ensures work for individuals with disabilities and provides labor for your business partners here in the community. Thank you. So your funding, like I said, goes directly to support Randolph County residents, and thank you. With all of y'all's support, you help us be a leader in North Carolina in providing services for individuals that do have disabilities, live and work and thrive in the communities they live in, which is where people want to live and work and thrive, is in their own communities. So we cannot thank you enough, but I've got 3 people with me that are residents of Randolph County, and they just wanted to say a few words.
Okay, I've only been with O&E Enterprises since February, but this is the most rewarding job I've ever had, okay? Except I did enjoy when I worked for the school system for 11 years, Randolph County Schools. I've took Jennifer under my wing because I also have cleaning experience. I've been working with Jennifer on how to clean, that kind of stuff. I also work with the clients, and I thoroughly have learned more from them than they will ever learn from me, okay? They're very smart and very hardworking individuals, and we appreciate y'all's support, okay?
Okay, my name is Jennifer. I have worked at OE for 8 years. I like to come to work and get a paycheck. Some of the jobs I do are from Bream, like labeling and packing fan blades and ultracraft. We are wrapping screws and foam, and I'm a substitute cleaner. I love these jobs. I want to try to work out in the community. I love hanging out with my friends. Thank you for helping to support OE.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you because y'all have supported it was Randolph Vocational Workshop forever. And I worked for the workshop for 35 years and I've been with OE now 2.5. So I'm the old timer, but we appreciate all the help that you guys give us. It's a very rewarding job. Our motto has always been helping people help themselves. And these guys love what they do, and we just want to continue to give them as much support as we can.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I noticed your federal contracts, do you bid on those, or how do you get those contracts?
For our business contracts,
I saw on one of your screens it said you had federal contracts.
we have federal contracts, and those are primarily service contracts. The federal government has set-asides for individuals with significant disabilities, and so we are able to, we don't have any of those in this county. We've got some in Mecklenburg, Raleigh, because that's where a lot of the federal buildings are, one down in South Carolina. So we work with people with disabilities from those areas. It could be a federal courthouse, a VA hospital, a clinic, places like that. That's where our federal contracts come from. So we're in the pool that can bid on those jobs when they become available.
Do you pay the worker or the business?
Sir?
Do you pay the worker, or does the business where they're working pay them? Are they your employee?
They're our employees. The business pays us, and we pay the people. And there is a way that you can pay people with disabilities less than minimum wage. That's a 14C certificate from Wage and Hour. We do not have that because we believe in paying at least minimum wage for anybody that works. So we pay them. They're our employee.
Comments?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your support.
very
We
much.
really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Shelter of Hope, Paulette?
Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you for your support over the years. And I am so excited that we're getting a women's shelter. We desperately need one. I have a statement I want to read to you from our Executive Director, Jeff Looney. First and foremost, my staff and I want to extend a very special thank you for your support and dedication in the past, and by faith, we extend to you another very special thank you for the support in the future. I want to take a minute of your time to let you know a little more of everything we do. Of course, there is housing and there's individuals, but that's just the beginning. We have a partnership with Second Harvest Food Bank that really helps with providing the food. We have 4 grocery stores that we pick up from 3 to 4 times a week. From the beginning, Jeff has had a heart for the shelter, and he's focused on making sure these guys eat as good as him or you or anybody else with. Our guys eat good. We provide 3 meals a day. We have shower, laundry facility, and we've just recently connected with Connecting Bridges. They work in substance abuse and outpatient therapy. We start a process that sometimes takes up to 2 weeks before they're ready to start employment. Every case is different, and the way it becomes homeless, such as bad marriage, release, being incarcerated, just substance abuse, there's a lot of issues that go on with homelessness. We also work closely with probation, police department, and sheriff's department. We then begin a process of getting them their intake paperwork. When they come in, we use Daymark for an assessment. We get them the proper identification. Sometimes they come in with nothing. no social security card, no ID card. So we do sometimes take that. Sometimes we even have to go get a birth certificate. We then begin the process of getting them to DSS and Social Security if needed. All of this takes money for the shelter to provide transportation, taking them to and from places, and with the way gas is getting, it's just getting tougher every day to do this. As of June the 8th of this year, we had a total individuals of 44 that have come through the doors. We now have 32 there. We have 13 working, 28 on disability. I got to fly. So that leaves about 10 or 11 that we're working on getting them to work. And sometimes it could take up to a month to get them ready for a job. We take them to Social Security, we take them to their appointments. Some of them have doctor appointments, job interviews. We have to get a lot of these individuals into drug and alcohol rehab facilities. We have helped convince some of them to turn themselves in that's had outstanding warrants. You've got to get the past cleared up before you can go to the future. And what we want to do is help these guys mend bridges. Some of them, their parents don't even have anything to do with them. Not to say that everybody comes through our doors have a success, but we like to think that we impact some. As I'm sure you are aware of the rising cost of everyday living today, such as utilities, food, and especially fuel costs, this affects the Asheboro Shelter of Hope, like everyone else. We believe that we will get through these difficult times with the help of our partners such as yourself. We believe that with the proper financial support that we can and are making a difference in our tenants' lives. We still work on volunteer basis. Nobody at the shelter is receiving any type of compensation for being there. And that's all I have if y'all have any questions.
Do you allow them to stay there during the day?
Yes, sir, we do. If they're applying for jobs the way they should, they're not there a whole lot. We do have some on disability, and we just don't think it's fair to them to put them out.
I know High Point, they won't let them stay there.
I know.
I see them walking around town.
But if it's cold, if it's raining, if it's hot, if it's snowing, they've got nowhere to go. They do have chores they have to start doing.
Right.
So we do try to keep them busy when they are there.
What are your other sources of funding?
Private individuals, some churches. We apply with a few other agencies. United Way, I went brain dead. Presnell Foundation, Rotary clubs.
Okay.
When did you folks open?
We officially opened January 1st of 2010 on Shana Lane. We've been on Wayman Avenue since February of 2016.
Okay.
I think Ogburn Yates was, he and his wife helped get this
Yes,
started.
they sure did.
I remember that. They were the first ones here to
They were.
ask for funding.
Yes, sir.
And I
They
don't know
still,
No, go ahead.
Miss Yates still comes around quite often. She's cutting back,
Yeah.
but she still comes around.
It's good.
And I don't know when the county first started, helping, but I know that we have budget years that go back to 2016.
That was your first year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many beds?
32,
So you can accommodate 32 people?
yes.
Or
We have 32 there now, and I have a waiting list of about 18.
So you have waiting lists that you have
Yes,
to
sir.
deal with? Do you feed those people, or do they just have to be out there till you can get a hold of them to come in?
No, we will feed, even if you've been banned from the property. we will feed you. You've got 30 minutes to get on the property, eat, and leave.
And you get banned from the property for what reason?
Well, we had one to pull a knife on somebody. If you start a fight, if it's just habituous use of drugs, if you don't want to help yourself, we can't help you. We probably feed an average of 40, I'd say at least 45 every day.
3 meals?
3 meals a day. If we've got guys that are working and they want a bag lunch to take to work, we provide them with a bag lunch and a bottle of water to take to work with them.
And if they can't get to work?
We take them to work. We have 2 vehicles at the shelter now, and some of the guys have their own transportation, but if you do not have transportation, we will take you to work and pick you up.
Your mission is to keep them working.
Keep them working. Keep them working. We do charge them rent, and that makes them responsible. They know they have to pay, so if they're accustomed of paying rent every week, by the time they're on their feet and can move into something of their own, they should be able to maintain paying rent.
I understand that. It makes them responsible.
It does.
That's what you're trying to train them
That's
to
what
do.
we're trying to do.
I understand that.
Other comments, questions?
Do you have women and children?
Excuse me?
Do you have women and children?
No. We only have men, so that's why I am so thankful that Asheboro is getting a women's shelter. We don't have the facility where we can separate women and children. We tried that on Shana Lane and found out real quick it did not work. Because we didn't have the room to separate them.
You might expand on how they're kept. I mean, they don't have individual rooms or anything like that.
No, we have a dorm setting, and we've got cubicles built in there where you've got, some cubicles have got 2 beds, some has got 4. But it's just an open room. We only built the cubicles about this high, give them a little privacy, but yet we can see what's going on.
And you do need to know what's going on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any
right.
more questions?
Have you
Comments,
done
questions?
any renovations since you moved in? Were they all
We're-
done before you moved in? or-
No, we done the cubicles ourselves, and we're constantly doing something.
Making some changes.
With 32 men, you have to constantly stay on top of it.
All right, thank you.
Is
Thank
that
you.
it?
Do you let any of them work off the rent by fixing up their problems? They can't have an in-kind.
Well, some of them do work around there. It depends on what they can do.
Okay. All right. Other comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Randolph Arts Guild, Mike?
Every time I come in this room, I look around, and it's unbelievable to me what you have done to this building. I'll have to confess, I tried my very first case in this room back in 1979, which tells you how long ago that was. But again, it's terrific. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the staff as well, my name is Mike Miller. I'm a director of the Randolph Arts Guild, and I'm happy to have members of our executive committee with me tonight, especially if the questions get too hot and heavy. Always glad to have them. Now, we have submitted an application which we think and we trust that you will find complete and very descriptive of the programs and opportunities that Randolph Arts Guild provides for Randolph County citizens. We've got the slideshow going on now, which doesn't necessarily pertain as what I'm talking. It's sort of a streaming type show to show you some of the things and activities that we have going on. It covers some of the history. It covers some of the gallery openings. It also lists the partner organizations that the Guild works with as well. And we've really worked, and it's a focus now, on improving our outreach to a really broad segment of the population of Randolph County, including diversifying the board of directors, particularly from a geographic standpoint. And I'm pleased to say that we have directors not only in Asheboro, but Randleman, Seagrove, Liberty, and Trinity, and all from different walks. Everyone's not an artist. I certainly can't paint or draw or anything like that, but we're glad to have a combination of artists, but also business people who can make sure that things stay on a good fiscal standpoint. Our programs really feature artists that come from a lot of different places and have diverse types of skills as well. The current show, and I hope you could find time to go by to the Art Skill Gallery and look at that, is a wood-fired pottery show. I never realized in the world that pottery wood kilns would get up to 2,400 degrees during the process. It just really amazes me. We're also about to have our third year of our flower show at Greenside Park in Archdale. And we had a very successful youth art show as well, which had youth from, I think, every junior high and high school in the entire county, including the developmentally disabled as well. In addition to seeking funding from the county, we're certainly working to obtain support from the various municipalities, certainly some in cash, others in kind. We really appreciate Randleman, who donated free space for the rummage sale for over 6 years. And of course, that was one of the things that got sacrificed during COVID, but we're glad that we're in the process of reopening that pretty soon. Part of the reason that we're asking for an increase in county funding from previous years is due to the fact that we lost our two major funding sources, being the Fall Festival and also the rummage sale. Cancellation of the Fall Festival was a really, really tough decision, but it was taken on direct advice from the county health department and also from Randolph Health. Of course, like many agencies and businesses, we got some relief funds, but not enough to prevent us from laying off staff, including the executive director, and also reducing programming staff as well. Certainly, past funding has certainly been appreciated, but we rely greatly on volunteers. Our application this year includes an increase in funding so that we can return to full programming as we are rebuilding the programs of the Arts Guild. We try hard to work with other agencies and programs to leverage whatever funding is received. Arts, why arts? You know, our arts, we would argue, is a major factor in the quality of life in Randolph, but it also provides a real assist for economic development activity. I'll confess I have been away from banking for more than 10 years. But while I was there, I would receive phone calls from bankers in other states where we were, working with, our EDC may have been working with companies in those other states, but I would receive the call from the bankers who weren't calling me about the company at all. They were calling me with concern about the employees of the company that were coming in as well. And they had 3 concerns that they were concerned with when they called me. And it didn't have anything to do with ad valorem taxes or utilities or state taxes or anything like that. They had all that research done, but what the banker was calling me about were the quality of life issues. They wanted to know about 3 things. 1 was education. 2 was recreation. And you've heard a lot about both of those factors tonight. And the third one had to do with arts. you know, we're very, very fortunate to have you know, been successful with the company, with Toyota coming to the mega site. But, you know, they're going to be hiring a lot of people. And what do we need to do? We're going to be competing with Alamance, Guilford, other counties as well, for the employees as well. And that can provide great assistance to local companies. I remember vividly when Timken came, and they brought in 17 pretty good folks, you know, to help run the plant. And my bank was able to make 18 mortgage loans out of the 21 people who came. And I look at the other things that their folks did. The first plant manager from Timken was very instrumental in getting Ashboro to convert from slow pitch girls softball to fast pitch. And that's because his daughter had done that in Ohio, and he brought it down, and it had totally changed. They were also concerned, one of the last hurdles that Timken had was the fact that there was no Catholic school in Randolph County. But again, they were able to get over that, even though I guess the second or third plant manager, Rory Lubick, and his wife commuted every day to the Catholic school in Greensboro. And Mary Lubick, his wife, ended up being employed there as well. But it just shows you the types of things that the community needs to put together to make it the place where people want to live and raise their families. And that's why we really need to compete with these other places on the quality of life issues. You can see with our mission statement in front of you is designed for that. And I really feel that this is something that I can't emphasize enough, that this aids the quality of life in Randolph County. And we're trying to expand it to cover the entire county better than we have in the past. And in order to do that, we need to get our programs back and running for there. So thank you very much for your time, and I would ask if you've got any questions.
I do have one question. I know there's, I live over in the Liberty area, and there's a Liberty Arts Guild that's been founded over there. What's your relationship with other arts guilds and whatnot within the county? How does that?
We have been of assistance to the Liberty Arts Guild. That's something that we know that they're doing. And, you know, we do have let's see. Sandra Martin is on our board. She's there. But again, we're well aware of what Liberty's doing, and we're being very supportive of them. Again, we're trying to expand arts in the county as opposed to trying to treat it as a fiefdom.
Right.
Just for this area.
I've seen some of the things in Archdale
Mm-hmm. Good.
that you've done up there.
Any other questions, folks? Well, thank you.
Comment, questions?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike. Communities and schools, Paula? Afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for being here and allowing us this opportunity to share a little bit about the work of communities and schools in Randolph County. 21-22 has been a year for us, and by the way, I'm Paula Owens, sorry. 21-22 has been a year for us to rebuild, refocus, and re-engage, and we are very excited to report that in this most recent school year, we have served 191 students at the high and moderate intensity, meaning case managed level, and that compares with 64 in 2021. So we're very pleased with that. We tripled the number. We need to get back to pre-COVID numbers, which were above 200, and we're headed in the right direction, though, so I'm very encouraged by this number. Our volunteers were welcomed back to the schools as of March 1st of this year, and we have been hard at work trying to re-engage these folks. We have re-enlisted 24 of them so far, which is not too bad considering we only had about 3 months to do that. And we have a whole list of folks that are background checked and ready to go in the fall, including
some new partners from Pinnacle Bank, both here in Ashboro and in Archdale and High Point area, who reached out to us about partnering with us in some ways in the school. And so we decided that they would be great candidates for Reading Buddies, which we were doing on a small scale virtually in the last year up until March 1st, and those people were itching to get in the schools. So these were small groups of students or one-on-one in some cases who were recommended by their teachers that they were struggling with reading, they were not on grade level, but they were not so far below grade level that some extra attention during the week would not really help move them forward. So we had a number of volunteers that came to the schools. They were working with them through Google Meets prior to that. And to see the joy on these adult volunteers, these folks, not to mention the kids, has been gratifying, and it's helped us really to market that program. So Pinnacle Bank is going to join with us. They've actually done a group presentation for us already for elementary kids on financial literacy, and I was very impressed. They have their own books that they bought that are on the elementary school level, and they brought those to the school and did like a 40-minute session. It was fantastic. So we want to do more of that, and that's how we pride ourselves in our mentoring program, but the most difficult part of that is recruiting adults that will give of their time. So we're very excited about that, and we have a number of folks who are returning to mentor in the fall and who are new. So we're super excited. We're also able to start a second Pen Pal program that in Ashboro this year, a partnership between Balfour Elementary and our own Randolph County senior adults. This was modeled after a program that's been going in Archdale for years. It's been one of my goals for a long time, so I'm very excited to check that one off. And what happened this year is it was virtual. The kids would write letters, and Kelly Garcia, who is our person in Ashboro now, would deliver those letters to the senior adults who would write replies. And the teacher in the classroom helped facilitate the writing. Who sends letters anymore? I stopped and thought, when is the last time I sent a handwritten note? It's been a while. But it really is a skill that we all probably need to practice before we forget how to do it. And it's really awesome that these kids are learning that and making a relationship with another generation of folks and who have a whole lot to give. And I saw your, Mark, are you still here? I saw your threshold for senior adults. I was like, dang, I had no idea I was so far into that group. It's frightening. But anyway, we're just thrilled with those partnerships with our other agencies, and just really happy about that. It went really, really well, and the kids at Balfour made a gift for the adults that was delivered. Our goal next year is that they'll have a field trip, and we'll take the kids to the Senior Adult Center to meet them and to interact with the seniors. We also provided 116 Tier 1 supports with over 10,000 students participating, which blows my mind. Last year, it was 4,900. So we're very excited, and most of these are things that, like academic assistance, our folks pushing into classrooms and working with groups of children who just really needed somebody, if nothing else, to corral them a little bit and to give them some extra attention. So that's one of those Tier 1 supports. We also did a big book giveaway this year to some second graders in 5 of our sites, and that was funded partially through the Community Foundation of Randolph County. We facilitated the Go Far program, which is a running curriculum, but it also has a character development and leadership component. We had 5 schools that participated and about 150 runners that ran in a 5K that was held in High Point in May.
We had 4 Cooking Matters classes this year. That's half of what we would normally do, but our folks were just dedicated, and they were very persistent about that curriculum. We coordinated and presented 3 reality stores as opposed to 7 or 8 like we normally do, but 2 of those were a hybrid where our staff facilitated with virtual slide presentations. And the last one was at Uwharrie Ridge, and it was live and in person and very well received. And we had tons of volunteers from the community. It was a wonderful event. We did some attendance incentives for students at different levels to try to motivate them to come to school. That has been an issue in a lot of our schools. The whole COVID thing has set us back, and I'm not going to talk about learning loss because, you know what, we got to talk about how we're going to move forward. And one of the things is they've got to come in the door. We've had a lot of cases where students they got so comfortable going to school in their jammies that they just don't feel the need to come and be there. And it's critical, especially for a lot of the children in Randolph County. They need to be there in person. We had some guest speakers. Some of those are our own people, like Beth Allen, who goes around and does weather lessons for 5th grade students in other parts of the county. If you don't know Beth, she's actually a licensed meteorologist, and we like to claim her on our staff that she goes and does very professional level weather lessons for many of our students. We had girls' clubs this year in 3 locations. We were able to collaborate with the North Carolina Arts Council through the Randolph Arts Guild to bring some performing artists to several schools, and in that included Wesley Williams, an old friend of mine who does African dance and drumming. It was very well received. Another thing was we worked with Rhino Leap for the first time in a partnership to provide some artist residencies in a couple of high school. It was a 2-week period after school. It was well received. We learned some lessons. We need to publicize it more and start sooner. But the students that did come really enjoyed it. Another thing is now that's happening, or just finished, but hopefully we will rekindle it in the fall, is a brand new Watchman group at Ashboro High School where we have a brand new staff member full-time that is funded by the Ellis Grant. And I noted that on my budget. You may have seen that come through as a new source of funding for us. It's federal. It's a federal grant. ELLIS stands for Extended Learning and Integrated Student Support, which is a huge part of what Communities and Schools is doing. That's our model, is to integrate student support throughout the school day. The extended learning part of that will happen in the summer. This position is at Ashboro High School. We were able to employ a local young man who is a graduate of Ashboro High School and has just hit the ground running. The Watchman Group is an idea of several community leaders and our CIS employee, Marquez Cassidy, and they work together, and we have men from the community that are coming into Ashboro High School on a weekly basis. They just rotate. They come in, sign in, and they spend some time eating with kids, talking with kids, going into classrooms as invited, just being present. And they're talking about what they do for a living. They're talking about being successful in school and why that is important. And just letting the kids ask them questions about things. Some of the teachers have asked them to present. One of them is Marcelo Paris, who's, as you know, the CEO, president, whatever they call it, at the State Employees Credit Union. And so we are very excited about this program. It's a model of another program that was Watchdogs, which was used in some elementary schools where parents came in, the fathers would come in and eat lunch with kids and that sort of thing. And this one is for older students. So we're very happy to partner. This was not our idea. It was more of an idea that came about through some conversations with our CIS person and some men in the community. So we hope that we can replicate that in other places. We just love it when good ideas work, and we don't mind copying them and trying to implement them elsewhere. To let our Backpack Pal program has been one that has consistently grown over the years, as I have told you before. We served 656 students weekly this past school year. We served 172 students with home delivery of Backpack Pals last summer. We are now serving 200 this summer. Those deliveries began today. We are able to bring in a couple of our staff members to make those deliveries and pay them an hourly wage and for their mileage, which, as you can imagine, is going to be a stretch this summer because they're delivering all over the county. But we're very excited about some of the extra funding that we've been able to get to allow that, including FEMA money, some monies through United Way, and the ARPA plan that they've been a part of. So it's been helpful to have those funds because we've lost some funds from individuals in a couple of churches that are just not able to do that right now. So we're very proud of that. We have another source of funding that you probably may have noted in our budget coming from our state office, CIS of North Carolina, that uses ESSER funding, which you've probably heard the school systems talk about. It's elementary and secondary school emergency relief funding. We are going to get some of those dollars for this school year, which will allow us to add a success coach at NAMS, North Ashburn Middle School, and if things go well at our meeting tomorrow, at Southeastern Randolph Middle School. And if that one doesn't work out, Dr. Gainey has another one that he's ready to send us to. But so what we're trying to do is facilitate the meeting of needs in these schools. And I met with Graham Grosclose, who will be the new principal at NAMS, and his assistant principal this past week. And they are very, very excited. We're all very, very excited about the potential of this new position. So, just want to tell you how grateful we are for your support, for your funding, and do you have any questions? I don't think I missed anything.
I don't think you did. You're very thorough.
Thank you, we're very thorough.
Sounds
right.
encouraging.
Any other comments? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ash Rand, Larry?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Managers, staff. My name's Larry Pugh. I'm retired Chief of Ashland Rescue Squad, and I'm the outgoing President of the Board of Directors, and Eddie Goodwin is the incoming President of the Board of Directors. We're here tonight to discuss with our financial assistance application for 2022 and 2023. This year we've asked for additional funding to pay for a one position weekday, 8 to 5 p.m. each day, for assist without responding rescue truck during the day. Currently, we're relying on volunteers, and we have the same issues that all fire departments and other agencies have obtaining volunteers, especially during the day and during the weekdays. We have sufficient volunteers at night and on the weekends, but getting that vehicle out the doors is our priority. We met with Hal and Will back in March and discussed this issue with them at that time, and Donovan Davis. Donovan would set it up for us. And actually, it was 2 years in the making. We tried to do this 2 years ago, and COVID got in the way and kind of set us back. But our funding currently now just does not provide enough funding for us to pay for a position off of our volunteer staff and all. We do provide an ambulance service to the county 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, but everything that comes in for that ambulance funding goes back into that ambulance fund. Y'all know how expensive it is to operate an ambulance service. Also, some of that funding goes into our regular bills that we pay. Our rescue end of the organization receives roughly $90,000 to $100,000 annually through our donations. United Way has reduced our funding in the past 2 years because of COVID, and our fundraiser we do each year. But still, that's not enough money, and we've addressed it at about $34,000 to pay for a part-time position 5 days per week. So we currently do not get enough funding to make that possible. But this is to address the issue of getting that truck immediately out the door so the volunteers can leave their jobs at work and things like that to respond. So we're here to answer any questions you have about this extra funding and anything, the services we provide to Randolph County.
Do you still have some volunteers, Larry? Do you still have volunteers?
Yes, we have 60, well, the county and our EMS personnel, there's 65 personnel in the squad now, and it's continuously growing.
Wow.
COVID actually helped with a little bit of recruitment of volunteers, especially on our search and rescue team, where people tend to want to get out and do things like that. But it's the hard part has been getting paid personnel for our ambulance service during the day. We compete with Donovan. We compete with all emergency services around the Piedmont for emergency service certified personnel. So, but that's, and we have a paid administrator. Keith Davis is he actually took my position when I retired, and he has to fill in on the ambulance. At times he can respond to rescue truck during the day, but most of the time they're either doing administrative responsibilities or riding the ambulance during the day or during the week, so forth. But funding this position would greatly increase our response time to the county and the service provided. Also, I'd like to add, this is our 60th year of service to Randolph County. 60 years.
I remember it.
I've had almost 52 of them.
Yes, sir.
That's a long time ago. A lot of people don't know Ashland Rescue Squad originated from the Deputy Reserve and the CB Club. The Asheboro Randolph CB Club, so that's where Ashland came from. Right. But it started with Sheriff Wilson back in 62, 61, really.
Comments or questions, board?
Just as a question, so you might tell people, how many runs do you do in a year?
The ambulance, well, on the rescue end, a little average between all the services we provide, close to 300. A lot of those are council responses because of we respond by automatic dispatch protocol through 911. If it's a certain type of accident comes in that needs rescue, they automatically respond to us. Lots of times that call turns into something that's not what it was initially dispatched as. But still, that is a call we have to respond to. So yeah, between search and rescue and then all the other services we provide, at least 300 annually.
Say that, what,
Around 300 annually.
300.
Just the volunteers. The ambulances run about 125 transports per month.
Other questions, comments?
No, I mean, I just see that you provide a lot of the technical rescue services for the county.
Yeah, we provide a lot of unique services that no other agency provides of water. We actually have a boat station at Randolph Lake that stays there, and we have MOAs with some of the fire departments to provide services.
You may take that fly.
He's getting ready to say,
Yeah,
feel free to kill that fly.
this position. He was a big one, too. So.
Other questions, comments? Thank you all very much.
I
Thank you.
appreciate your service.
Okay, Dare, family crisis.
I usually come by myself, but I'm not by myself tonight. So I'm excited not to be by myself. I have Stephanie Phillips, my vice chair, with me this evening. My chair's out of town, so I have my vice chair, and then I have our district attorney, Andy Gregson, with me this evening. First, I just want to say thank you to the commissioners for your support over so many years. You know, the Family Crisis Center has been serving victims of domestic violence and sexual assault since 1978 in our community. In addition to domestic violence and sexual assault victims, we also are serving victims of human trafficking. which is an ever-growing problem in everybody's neighborhood. We recently, in the past fiscal year, have had a young woman for over 6 months in our shelter receiving services. She had just turned 18 2 months before she came to us. So I want you all to know that we are doing so much more than what we originally did in 1978. This year we've had 2 human trafficking victims that we provided services for, in addition to the 1,500 clients that we serve for domestic violence and sexual assault annually, approximately 1,500. You know, during a pandemic, we never shut our doors. The shelter's open 24/7. Our advocacy centers are open 5 days a week, and we have provided services via text, via however we needed to do it. We did telehealth for clients, just whatever we had to do. As our billboards around town state, you know, we're here. If you're not safe, call us. I don't know if you've seen our billboards, but I'm real excited about those billboards. They're in English and Spanish because our goal this year was to let the community know that they could call us and talk to us. They would, you know, reach us no matter what. But with the Family Crisis Center side, with the domestic violence and sexual assault, I want to you know, not to just dismiss the fact that we are asking for the same funding, the $75,000 that we've asked for the last couple of years, and to make you all aware how important that is, because that serves as a match. And that $75,000 allows us to receive about $400,000 in matches. And also to let you all know that it is so important to me, because my partner agencies or my sister agencies, whatever you want to call it, across the state, they're not as blessed as we are to receive the support from county commissioners and as well as municipalities in financial support, not for their CACs and not for their domestic violence and sexual assault agencies. So I am very, very much appreciative of that, and that you continue to support us in that way. So we asked for the same amount of money for the matching funding for the domestic violence and sexual assault and human trafficking funding. And then I had an additional ask, and that's one reason our DA is here. And then Stephanie wanted to close with a couple of comments. Our Emmy's House CAC, you know, you all were the catalyst to help get that off the ground. As you know, I believe I made the ask in 2017, the capital project ask, and you doubled what I asked. Mr. Gregson and I presented to you all and asked for funding for that, and the CAC got off the ground. Well, the doors opened March of 2018. Since that day, 673 children have been assisted by Emmy's House. That first year, from March of 2018, since then to now, we've had an increase of 293% in children who've been served by Emmy's House. That is how drastically the numbers have grown in the kids that are being referred. I believe Tracy Murphy's still here. I heard her say last Thursday night that I was listening to my friend Tracy from DSS Talk. They have seen a 200% increase in the cases that are substantiated. And those cases that are screened in and go through the process, most of them are seen at Emmy's House because we're going to do the forensic interviews and the medical exams. So we are so interconnected in the work that we do in this community for our children. So what happens when you have a 200% increase in child abuse cases that are substantiated when they're screened in? Well, because our CAC is nationally accredited, we are required to have case reviews every 2 weeks. Well, who comes to those case reviews? We have to have our teams, our multidisciplinary team members, which are made up of DSS folks, law enforcement, people from the DA's office, our medical provider, our therapist, numerous people. Well, right now, we have a room that is 12 by 13. And I have a staff of 10 people at the CAC. And different members of my staff have to be in there as well. Well, when those teams come together, we need 25, sometimes 30 people in this 12 by 13 room. And guess what? We're not doing that. We're doing Zoom and we're having to meet that way, which started with COVID, but then we have grown exponentially in case numbers since COVID as well. So we can't cram 25 to 30 people in this room and meet in person, which is obviously the most effective way to do, to discuss the safety and health and well-being of these children who have allegedly been severely abused. So we're asking for this expansion. And we need this expansion so that these people can get together and meet and discuss what's happened to these children and the best way to move forward in their care. Now, I know that you may be sitting there thinking, well, they only need this room every 2 weeks. That seems like a big, investment for 2 weeks. Well, it's not just for that 2 weeks. In addition to our local folks meeting, at least 6 to 12 times a year, we have visits from the SBI, from the FBI, from Homeland Security, from NCIS, because there are children, and Mr. Gregson can attest to this, there are children from this county who have those types of cases. And they call us, and they need our staff to do the medical evaluation and to do the forensic interview, and then their teams are going to use our facility to observe the forensic interview and to meet and to discuss what needs to happen with the children. So we also need to start doing support groups now that the pandemic, the major threat of the pandemic has lifted. We need to provide support groups for these kids. We have been going off-site to do support groups, or therapy groups, rather, for our children to an equine therapy situation, which has had phenomenal results. So much so that we are doing summer programs. We have 3 scheduled this summer, and we've raised lots and lots of money for fundraising to do camps. And I think 45 kids are going to benefit from these summer programs, these 4-day summer programs. So we want to be able to do some therapy groups for the kids and for the non-offending caregivers in this room, in this location. So it will also serve as a multi-purpose room. So those were some of the data and the statistics that I wanted to provide for you all. Mr. Gregson, would you like to add to?
I'll be very brief. Good evening. I've sit here and heard so many good things going on in this county. I'm a little bit hesitant to be Debbie Downer, but I ran a report before I came over, and we have 80 serious child sex defendants pending. Those are cases that have gone through the review process. They've gone through the grand jury. Been here since 1994. I've never seen anything like this. I don't even know what we're going to do with 80 defendants. So what really scares me is the number that is in the pipeline coming that we are actively investigating. I will say on the plus side that we're not alone. I have surveyed my other elected DAs that they've seen the same increase. So it's not something necessarily peculiar to Randolph County. I wish I could say in this respect we were different, but we're not. Those are just sexual abuse cases. That's not your child pornography cases. That's not your physical abuse case. That's 80 defendants. For many, many years here, I carried about 25, maybe a bad year was 35, and we have 80 pending. So I would say that your work through the CAC has been outstanding. Prosecutors actually carrying these cases to juries. We're very, very happy with the quality of the work being done at the CAC. I personally think we're doing the best forensic interviews in the Piedmont. I review them all before we go to court, before we make a plea offer. I'm extremely happy with the quality of those interviews. I'm extremely happy with the sexual assault exams that we're doing in-house. So I think this is a good investment. We do have to meet every 2 weeks. It's a big team, but at these meetings, we talk about these cases. We learn things from DSS investigators and other people. So that's a very important meeting. Also, we're getting a good reputation, so a lot of people are bringing their victims to us. So the feds are actually bringing their victims of human trafficking and stuff to our facility, which says a lot about the quality of the work that we're doing. So I endorse what Dare is asking for, and I'm able to answer any questions if you have any.
Are any of those cases referred to you by the schools, Andy?
Can't answer that, Mr. Fry. I'm sorry off the top of my head. I'm sure some of them are. Yes, sir.
And some of it is trafficking?
Yes, sir. We have seen an increase. I think some of that is due to the awareness in the system of this crime. How much of that was going on before our awareness was raised, I can't answer, but we are seeing it. Unfortunately, most of the abuse is from people who are known to the child. It breaks my heart to say that, but that's where we're at. And I will say that these are some of the most complex, difficult cases that we handle, even more complex than many of our murders. I'm having to send my assistant district attorneys to specialized trainings all the time to keep up. So I appreciate the investment you've made in the Children's Advocacy Center. We don't talk about it a lot, but it's paying dividends for the children victims in our county.
Stephanie, you have anything to say?
As Dare said, I'm the vice chair, but I'm really going to speak as a former teacher in Randolph County from 1998 to 2020, and some of the interconnectedness that I believe it was the one who presented previously for the men's shelter that said, you got to get the past cleared up before you can move to the future. So a lot of the programs that require money later in life, what do you do if your past is sexual abuse survivor as a child? And so it's very important to have a good meeting spot. Ms. Spicer laid out our plan and how we would use the money. It's for the multipurpose room. And to do a Zoom meeting or a virtual meeting over something this weighty is not effective. So we really need that space. I know, just like I said, I stopped teaching in 2020, but getting people to be engaged virtually, we all try our best, but it's difficult. And then you have all the documentation, the very confidential paperwork that needs to be there, that needs to be housed with it as well. So that's how we would use the money. So.
Any questions?
I can't. The young lady that just spoke is my daughter. I think I need to say that. Extremely proud of her and her life, and I kept thinking maybe Dr. Gainey would take this load off of me because he knows who she is. But so I don't know where this goes with my voting, but I know how I vote. But I think I need to say that tonight. I love her and I'm very proud of her.
As you should be.
I love you. I'm proud of you. Chip off the old block.
All right.
She does a great job on this board.
Comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Boys and Girls Club.
Good evening,
Good evening.
everybody.
How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you? Good. Thank you all for letting us talk for a few minutes tonight to share about what we're doing at the Boys and Girls Club. Gary Parks is with us. He's a retired dentist here. He's also our chair. He's trying to step down, but he's doing such a good job that they keep saying, no, we're not getting, nobody's stepping up to help him. So, but he's doing a good job with us. Wanted to just share a few things. First, wanted to thank you for your longtime support of our program here in Randolph County. We are getting back to the numbers that we saw prior to the COVID epidemic that impacted everybody. We have around 195 members right now. 95% are minority. 95% also qualify for free or reduced lunch, and about 70% come from single-parent headed households. The majority of those are headed by single-parent mothers. We average about 60 children a day during the school year. Summer just started, so that's a fun time for us. We're open after school and summer. Some of the things we've been doing the past couple years are we have been able to secure some grants that have allowed us to hire teachers to provide tutoring 3 days a week for small group sessions and skills. And we enroll students in an online assessment that assists them in reading and math. And what happens is that many of our students are behind. I can share one example. We have a fourth grader here who, when he first came at the beginning of the year, we test him 3 times a year. In his first test, he was tested at a second grade reading level. At our second test in January, between October and January, he was already up to a third grade level. So this program builds on their strengths, and they have to read 2 articles a week, and then they have to do a test, and then the only way they can advance is if they score 75% or higher. So it works very well with that. We're very pleased with that. We do everything with this. We also offer after-school meal program and snacks. We do this at 0 cost to our members. We don't charge our members or families anything, even though it costs us about $1,500 per member per year for our services. So, and your support allows us to attract other support through grants and donations. And one good example of that is we're gonna learn in early July about a grant that could fund a second location here at First Christian Church in Ramseur. We've worked with Pastor Arnett there that they're going to provide free space for us in their Family Life Center, which we're really excited about because it's a great space, and Ramseur needs some services there. So we will learn early July about that, and we're very optimistic about that. And so I just want to say thank you again for your long-term support, and look forward to continued support. Any questions?
What's the name of the online program you use?
It's Achieve 3000.
I thought it was.
Yes.
I thought it was.
Yes, ma'am.
And here in the description, that's an excellent program.
Yes, we're very pleased with it.
Expensive, but it's excellent.
Yes.
And these monies also, I think I heard you say, is used for matching.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What we found is that Boys and Girls Clubs across the state, for every $1 invested in us, we can find matching support of $10 to every $1 invested in us.
We funded you for a long time.
Yes, sir. And we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. It's been great to have the program, and it says of High Point, but
yes,
I was chairman when we opened the club down here.
You worked with Steve Morris.
Steve, that's
he
right.
just retired from Boys and Girls Club.
Did you? I have to pass that along. I get asked that occasionally.
Yeah.
He was living in Archdale, he and his
Yes.
wife, for a long time.
Yes. I was just with him Saturday, him and his wife, so yeah.
Wow, good.
Yeah.
All right, other questions, comments?
Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we're down to fire departments, and our first one tonight is Climax. Gary?
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, Managers, ladies. Thank you for allowing us the time. I want to take a quick opportunity to recognize we have 8 board members, fire commissioners, citizens here with us tonight to support this tax rate request and budget. Just briefly about our organization, we do have 47 square miles in Guilford and Randolph, serve about 9,700 folks. We do have 2 fire stations, one located in Guilford, one in Randolph. We have 24-hour staffing at both. That is comprised of 10 career employees, 12 part-time employees, and 18 volunteer members. We're very, very proud, very, very proud in 2021 to accomplish a Department of Insurance rating of 4. So we're asking for a tax rate increase above 15 cents. We take this very, very seriously. So we feel like we should fully justify that as the why. And so we talk about challenging times, things, small businesses, and we are a small business everywhere, are being impacted by inflation. and 67% of businesses, per the Chamber of Commerce, have already raised prices. Unfortunately, we don't sell a product. We don't manufacture a tool that we can sell and increase a price on to recoup some of those expenses. And obviously, we're competing with larger companies as well. A big note here, in the last 2 years, the number of volunteer firefighters in North Carolina has dropped by 1,200. That's a roughly 22% decline. So obviously COVID and age and social economic conditions are certainly impacting that. So challenges we're facing, first with personnel, we're seeing a decrease in the amount of volunteer members. You'll hear that unanimously across the board. That's spurring the need to hire additional career and part-time staff and to meet the demand. And we're struggling with those staffing to pay competitive wages and compete with larger departments that have better benefits, because we truly want to have talented employees. We feel like our citizens in both counties deserve that. And just a brief stats there at the bottom, you can see in 0102, we had 46 volunteers, 3 career. That drastically started changing if you advance 20 years to 21-22 with 10 career and down to 18 volunteers. We've lost 2 members, have passed away this spring. We have 5 additional members set to retire this year. Volunteer members all over the age of 70, so we're looking at dropping our volunteer membership down to 13 because of that, and we still have several that are struggling to find time based on their jobs and just trying to meet the needs at home right now. So our demand, how much is our demand growing? We're seeing a 16% annual increase in call volume, and along with that, fire and life safety programs we offer, whether this be going to a school, whether this be installing smoke detectors in homes. We're at large events, we're at businesses. We're doing fire extinguisher training for staff at camps, at businesses. We're trying to be fully engaged in the community in every way we can to make it safer for everyone. We've seen a 750% increase in 10 years, with just a 125% increase in the past year. And as you can see there in the chart, we've gone in 20 years from 800 persons reached in our fire and life safety programs to now 16,248 this past year, expecting 20,000 this coming year. And obviously our call volume is drastically increasing. With that, we talk about call volume. This is a 50-year snapshot of call volume, but just this year alone, we've seen a 22% increase since November. And we're currently today at 1,064 calls. If you'll note there, last year we run 948. We're on track to run over 1,100 calls this month to finish out our fiscal year. So it's certainly, we're starting to see those impacts. So challenges beyond personnel and that due to inflation. Personnel protective equipment cost, what it costs to equip a firefighter, we've seen a 24% increase in just the last year. Our utility expenses, mainly our LP and electricity, we've seen substantial increases there, up to 60%. Insurance costs are up, vehicle maintenance costs are up, and I don't have to inform everyone the fuel costs are drastically up. We're seeing a 250% increase in just that. So the fuel cost alone will cost our organization roughly $18,000 additional dollars a year if they stay at the current rates. So all this is important, but what's really, really important, we feel like, to the homeowner, to the citizen, to the business owner that's paying for fire insurance, regardless of what company it is, that we stay sufficient, we stay efficient, and we maintain our insurance rating. There's a lot of things that go into making up our insurance rating, maintaining our records, testing of equipment, ensuring interoperability, doing a lot of training. But regardless of who your insurance provider is, they recognize the efforts in communities to provide fire protection, and they grade you. You're on a scale of 1 to 10, and this is a little different from our grading system we use predominantly in the world. 1 is the best, 10 is the least, and obviously we're very, very proud to accomplish a 4, being the top 17% of the state. Because of that, you can see here on the average property value, if you have a $150,000 property, your annual insurance savings is $369. At the requested tax rate of 17.6, that same homeowner would pay $264. So we are one of the very, very few services that we actually save more than we cost. And I don't think there's many entities that can get up here and say, we're saving the tax dollars of the citizen more than they're actually paying in fire tax. And that's through the insurance savings, regardless of the company they're with. There's substantial savings there. So we're excited about that. Obviously, we're trying to be prepared. We're trying to be ready to respond to increase growth in our area, whether that be road and highway traffic, whether that be construction traffic. We're already seeing a lot of infrastructure construction and work being done in our area, and obviously the rail traffic that will increase. We want to be ready for that. Obviously, we know there will be some residential commercial growth coming, but that may be 5 to 10 years before we benefit from that and see the impacts of it. So along with all this, we still have our 10-year needs. We try to project out 10 years what our costs are going to be, what things that need to be replaced. As you can see there, we have over $2 million in 10 years for our needs. We have two fire engines, as you see here, to replace, both at $550,000. That's going up on an average year, 5 to 7%. This particular year, we're seeing a substantial increase, obviously due to inflation. We have 42-year-old buildings. We have personal protective equipment per OSHA and NFPA we're required to replace every 10 years. Radios that we're having to replace every 10 to 12 years, regardless of whether we would like to or not. There's so many changes through the FCC and the Viper system that require those changes. And then if you go along with the air packs and some of the other equipment we have, there's a lot of restraints and conditions on those that force us to make some of these replacements. And as you can see, none of these replacements are inexpensive. They're all mounting up to be a tremendous amount. So the solution, obviously, is to, we've put in for a tremendous amount of grants. We've been fortunate to get over $1.8 million in grants in the last 10 years. We will continue our efforts to submit for grants, both on the local level and the federal level, but increasing this tax rate is the only way that we see that we're going to be able to prevent from laying off firefighters, allowing for the increase of 2 career positions to make up for those that we will be losing this year or have already lost, meet the growing demand of public services, the 16% increase we're seeing in call volume, the 125% increase annually we're seeing in fire and life safety programs, to mitigate some of these capital projects and allow us to keep our insurance rating. And not only keep our insurance rating of a 4, we would like a 3, and we're doing everything in our power right now to work toward a 3. We will be re-inspected in 5 years. They're on 5-year schedules now. So in 2026, we're fully anticipating and preparing to be re-inspected and hopefully drop down to a 3 and then move into the top 10% of the state. And that obviously is going to attract more businesses to our fire district, and hopefully that'll bring more jobs to Randolph County. So your support is extremely needed in this project. We have community support. And that is obvious here tonight. We've got to do this so that we can continue providing a high grade of service to our citizens. They deserve it, but also to anyone that's passing through the fire district, whether it be traveling for business or traveling for pleasure. We want to be there to aid them in the event that they have an emergency and they have a need. So your support is certainly very welcome. Open to any questions.
What's the difference between you said you currently at a 4, you're looking to go to a 3.
Yes,
what
sir.
does that mean?
It would not benefit a residential customer, but businesses would see a substantial, anywhere from a 10 to 20% reduction in fire insurance premiums.
On business, but not residential.
On a business, yes, sir, not residential. We're already as low as you can possibly go for a residential. So our residential customers, which will make up the majority of our fire district, are already fully benefiting from the lowest premiums in the state of North Carolina.
How close are you from getting from 4 to 3?
We are in the middle, between a 4 and a 3 now. We are needing about 6 points to get to that point, to get over that threshold. and the water line coming, some additional technology upgrades, and actually being able to hire additional staffing to go along with the increased training we're doing should get us the 6 points that we're hoping to achieve to move into that 3.
And that would happen
2026.
2026, next time.
It would go into effect in 2026.
And in the rate that you had proposed here, you already have that rate on the Guilford County side of your
Yes,
district?
yes, we've had this rate on the Guilford County side. We've requested it this year, and it was part of the county manager's proposal to the county commissioners, which will be voted on next week. And it's been fully supported by the budget staff, the county manager, deputy county manager, and our commissioner, Alan Perdue.
Like you said, I guess you got some folks with you from your area. I mean, I always ask all these chiefs, usually when I talk to them, have you got any feedback about the rate change?
Everything's been positive. Folks understand the impacts of inflation. They understand the impacts of COVID. I think they've recognized how we have been there for the community throughout all the pandemic. And we've had to undergo a lot of changes. We've had to undergo a lot of expenses out of our own pocket to protect our personnel as well as protect the public when we respond to these emergencies. And I think they appreciate that. They know that that comes at a cost.
I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't say I did a little figuring here. If I figured right, that would give you the 3rd largest budget in the county.
Yes, sir.
And I know one of the things you I always hear, well, we're running more calls, we're running more calls. So, but you were 7th in the number of calls. And I've heard a little bit about, the different things you're doing with this life safety programs and that kind of thing. But can you help?
Bridge the gap there.
There's a gap there.
Yes, sir. We are struggling to obviously recruit and retain valuable employees, talented employees. We're competing both with Randolph County organizations as well as Guilford County organizations. And to put that in a framework, our current starting salary for a firefighter is $35,500. The average in Guilford County is $38,500. If you go into a municipality, you're looking at $43,000. And now we're competing with Cary and Apex that are starting firefighters at $52,000. So, and yes, they're leaving our area to go to Cary and Apex. So the competition for talented employees and trying to be proactive and make sure our equipment is replaced in a timely manner to protect our the safety and well-being of our firefighters is paramount to us. And that is part of what we're facing.
Comments?
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Farmer, Tracy?
Well, good evening. I'm not going to give you a big fancy presentation like Gary did, but I mean, I can sit up here and redo everything Gary said because all of it affects us the same. Farmer Fire Department, we've been in the bottom 4 or 5 of all fire departments in the county in the 25 plus years I've been chief. Right now, we're the lowest tax rate of all fire departments in the county. We're at 9.2. We're asking for 12, which is the county average for fire tax. We're facing the same thing, Gary, and every other fire department here. I mean, my fuel cost has doubled in the last 3 months. We have equipment. Our newest tanker is a 2004 model. Our first out truck is 23 years old. And our other one is almost 30, pushing 28 years old. And talking about insurance rating, if we replace these trucks, you don't want to stay where you're at. Because when we bought these trucks 20 years ago, they were where we needed to be. But with our DOI ratings, you need to increase your pump capacity, your water capacity, and which it costs more money, and we're getting to that stage where we have to. I spent more money this year on maintenance probably than I have in the last 15 years combined. Mr. Allen, you've been in my fire department. Maxton, you've been in my fire department. You know, our last time it was added on was in 1985. We got 2 foot behind every fire truck, 3 foot in front of every fire truck. So as you get these new fire trucks, they only get bigger. We can't go bigger because we don't have the room. When our trucks pull out of the station, they got 8 to 10 inches to clear the doors. Yes, you look at our budget. Farmer Fire Department, we're debt-free. And that's through hard work and being good caretakers, you know, of our taxpayers' money. In the 25 years I've been the chief, we've only had 3 tax increases. We went from 6 to 7. 2007, we went to 8. Let me get this right. No, 2000. Let me get it right. Anyway, we went to 8, and we went back 1 cent. You ever had a fire department decrease their tax rate? I don't think so. 2008, the recession hit. We asked for our penny back. But, you know, then we went to 9, and it's been several years since we went to 9. But, you know, the only full-time employee we have is myself. We got 4 part-time guys. Yes, we're a smaller community. We run less calls, but still, when you're called, somebody wants you to be there. From 8 to 5, 7 days a week, we have personnel at the station. And when we hired these guys, we were paying them $9 an hour. Our average now is right at $11 an hour. You're not going to keep them at $11 an hour when they can go somewhere else and make more money. And like I say, volunteers are decreasing. Right now, I got volunteers are old. I got volunteers young, very few in the middle. Luckily, I've had 7 junior firemen. 2 of them just turned 18. Guess what? One's moving, going to school. So it's hard to keep those juniors and get that middle row. So we need this increase because we're looking in the future. We got to replace trucks. We got to pay our personnel more. And we're going to have to do something about our building. Maxton knows when it was built, right around 1970. It hadn't changed much, has it, Maxton?
Very, very little, yeah.
So that's what we're looking at. Yes, we're debt-free, but we're, you know, being good stewards of our money, we're saving up, we're looking to pay. Luckily, like Gary said, radios has got to be upgraded. Luckily, through grants, I've upgraded half my radios. This is the first year in 20-some years I didn't get the state grant. Even as a small department, we still didn't get the state grant this year. So that tells you where grants are going. Harder to get, fewer out there. And, you know, we've lived off these grants. FEMA grant, I ain't got one in 8 years. So we need this money just to keep our fire department going. Any questions?
I've been coming by there quite a bit lately. I got a granddaughter lives just down the road from your station.
Really? But you know, like our call volume, it's 25 years ago when I joined, we run 50 calls a year. No, we're not running 1,000 calls a year. We run 425. Last year it was 360. When we end this month, it's probably going to be 425. Our DOI rating is as well as anybody in the county. We're class 4. And that was 1 paid guy, 4 part-time guys, and no hydrants. So that's tell you how hard we work for our community. And we need this money to keep getting better. Any other questions, comments?
You run several right by my house.
Oh, yeah. We actually have run one to your house.
You got a retiree in your community there, look like he might volunteer. You need volunteers. It's right down from the station there.
I got one.
Go by there all the time, evidently. So, I mean, it sounds like you got.
The problem is that volunteer is old as the hills. That's the problem.
I got one volunteer at the fire department that started in 1969. He joined in 1970, and he's still active.
Wow.
And like I say, I got almost 30 years in, and I'm the third oldest one there.
You guys do a good job, you really do, and you do it with a very low rate. You deserve it.
Okay, thank you.
So your rate is a 4.
Yes.
Good job.
We went from 9 in 2006, we went to a 6. Then 19, I believe it was a 4 we went to.
I really don't know how they do it with the equipment they got. I don't know how you have that rating.
Hard work with the people we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Kevin, we're ready for the EDC presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Kenny's over here yawning on me. I'll be brief. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this evening, and really appreciate the support that the county has provided to the EDC over the many years of our organizational history. And hopefully over the past year, you've seen more than any other, you've seen the reward from the work that you have put into the funding that you've put into the EDC. Our EDC has really had a banner year of activity this year. We've had announcements, obviously, from Toyota. In any other year, the Technomark announcement would have been a huge announcement of expansion. So, we've hit a peak of the new announcement with the Toyota, but we certainly don't want to underplay the other great activity that we're seeing with other existing industries, such as Technomark with their $62 million 220 job announcement this year. Craftsman Trailers, Mickey Truck Bodies both also announced expansion here in Randolph County. Hayful America, although our office wasn't involved in that, that's a very large expansion that's taken place up in the Archdale area. Ultimately, the projects that we worked, we saw about $1.36 billion of investment announced this year, and I think 2,060 jobs, all of those at or above the county average wage, and some of them significantly so. So your investment and partnership in our organization really has made all of this possible. We sign a contract every year with Randolph County to provide economic development services on behalf of the county. We take that very seriously. We try to be great stewards of the funding that you have provided for us. And I hope that if there's ever been a time when the value of that investment has been, and our work has been evident, it's been over this past 12 months. Our requested appropriation for the 2022-23 year is $367,950. That is a 10% increase, a request for 10% increase for the coming year. We've been at the current level for the past 5 years, so this would be the first increase requested in 6 years. And I will say that we have requested a 10% increase of all of our local government partners for this coming fiscal year. Again, we've managed our funds well, we've had great success, but we're really not content, and we really can't sit back at this point. If there's any time where we really need to be moving forward, it's right now and in the coming year. The EDC is convinced that this is the time to ramp up our services and our program activities to support all of those things that you know that we support: product development, workforce development. If there's any time for workforce development, it's now. Existing industry needs, marketing the community, attracting of new business to the community. We are, as a community, on the radar of many like we've not ever been in the past, and your support will allow us to continue to provide a very high level of economic development service to all of our partners. Again, we're grateful for your investment in the EDC and your confidence in our efforts, and we respectfully request your ongoing support for the 22-23 fiscal year. And I'll leave it at that. Happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I have seen some observations. You guys are doing a good job.
Thank you. That's, like I said, we take our role very seriously, and we work hard to represent well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Kevin, the ask was the same for the other municipalities.
Yes, sir. We asked for a 10% across the board for all of our local government partners.
Right. Other comments or questions?
No, it's a good thing you don't work on commission. You'd be asking for more than that this year.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see, we are supposed to hold a public hearing on the request from EDC, and that is a 10% ask, up $33,450. We've been at that level for a pretty good while. And the activities, and that's going to continue with the mega site, Technomark, all the things that are going on. More and more calls to answer every day. I don't know how the staff's overloaded, I know that. So is there anyone here tonight who wishes to speak to the budget request of the Randolph County Economic Development Corporation? Anyone? Hearing none, we will move to the budget public hearing tonight. You've heard our presentations from these outside agencies. Some of you have sat through our other meetings as we started this budget process a couple weeks ago. The budget is balanced with no tax increase, and we are strained right now. Those of you that were here Thursday night with the request from our departments, a lot of it has to do with labor, the cost of labor and retention. That's getting to be a major issue in the county. Law enforcement, all of our EMS, public service, public safety issues, all these things are going up, and we've been presented a budget that's balanced with the same without the same tax rate. So with that, is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak to this budget, any aspect of this budget? Have any questions about the budget? Any of you folks from the fire departments, if anything you wanted to say tonight? But we will open the public hearing for comments on the proposed budget. All right, you had your chance. Anyone have anything to say? All right, we will close the public hearing. Any discussion tonight, part of this board? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. We are adjourned, and thank all of you for your patience, and for those that are watching from home. Thank you.
How are you? Good to see you.
Rachel, how you doing?
Appreciate you.
Good to see you.
Did you tell the Boys and Girls Club to get a Chief 3000? Aren't you the one that brought it to Randolph County?